Welcome to our very first commentary video for the WAPL Live Table. My name's Jason.
Hey, I'm Tanya.
And Tanya's joining us for a couple of weeks here. She featured on our table last week and will be back this coming Tuesday night.
I flew all the way over just to play the table. Oh, no,
very nice of you.
Not really. But still, it was a really fun experience, and hopefully we'll talk through some pretty cool hands for the night.
First up, we've got a hand between Jay and Gary. This was actually the hand that knocked Gary out. We're going to start having a look at the action on this hand now.
Yeah, so we see Jay here. He limps under the gun with pocket kings, being a little bit sneaky. The table had been pretty aggressive, so I guess he's just trying to catch someone out. And
see Tanya opens with a raised 40
with Queen Jack. Could have limped behind, could have been fine, but instead I decided to be a bit aggressive, as I tend to do from time to time.
Gary has picked up Ace Queen suited, and he has called the 40.
He flats behind. He only starts the hand with 400. It wouldn't have been a bad spot to 3-bet, but we made a different decision. Eric with 5-2 suited in position starts to call, and Peter comes along with a 7-2. Jay has a very quick think here about his hard decision, and
he has re-raised all the way up to 760 here, so it's going to be 720 more for Tanya to call.
Yeah, he bombs it. I guess he's trying to make it look like he's bluffing. Personally, I thought it kind of looked like aces or kings.
Potentially, you've got 5 other players in hand as well, though.
Yeah, there is 200 in the pot, but I think his sizing is really he gets kind of fortunate in that Gary, I think, is a little bit tilted from the hand that he lost previously to Jay, so he sticks the rest of it in with the ace queen suited, hoping for the best.
Mm-hmm. Eric obviously moves away with
his
5-2.
With his 5-2, he has a little think, and a pained fold with the ace-8 suited. I guess Bob felt like that was coming.
Unlucky for Gary, that one of his aces now out of play.
And 7-2 gets out of play as well.
Alright, so this hand, as you said, Gary's been in a big hand with Jay previously. He may be a little bit on tilt from that, just hoping that his ace-queen...
Yeah, it was it's something to note as well. In the hand previously, Gary ends up calling down with pocket sixes, and Jay was kind of bluffing on the river, and it didn't really end up working out too well, or it worked out well for him because he got called by a worse hand.
So we've got the kings in the lead here on the flop. Pretty nice flop for Jay.
Nice safe flop for kings, and then
10 of hearts on the turn gives Gary the
overcard and a
flush draw, but he blanks out on the river. So Jay takes the hand, takes the over $1,000 pot there, and Gary unfortunately busts from the table that hand. And moving on to our next hand here at the WAPL Live Table, we've got a big hand coming up between Brian and Jaden.
Yeah, I think from memory this hand played out pretty big.
A lot of big hands actually showing up in this hand as well, which was pretty interesting.
So we see Tom under the gun first act. A7, he doesn't want to play out of position, so he just elects to fold.
Moving over to Nick. Nick folds his king 9. Bob has folded and left his seat already.
Yeah. Brian here, I think this is the first interesting thing in the hand. He has ace king off, obviously a premium holding, and decides just to limp in early position. Jay calls behind with king 10, and we see Jaden
also with king 10.
Yeah, also with king 10 on the button.
Bumps it up a little.
Yeah, just bumps it up to 40. Just a little popular to try and build a nice pot in position for himself. Eric does something a little interesting here. He has ace-jack suited, which obviously plays pretty well multi-way. He's pretty deep as well against Jaden. They're both 1k deep.
Has a good think about it.
Yeah. He looks like he's got a 3-bet. He looks at his stack and then elects to fold, which I think is quite interesting.
Jaden has been playing very tight.
Yeah, Jaden had been quite tight, but I think ace-jack suited in that situation.
It's probably worth seeing a flop.
Yeah, worth seeing a flop for sure.
Alright, so we've seen him move out. We've got both of the king 10s now.
Yeah, so the next interesting thing is I thought Brian might have been limping to limp raise, but he decides just to flat with the ace king pre. So
Jay actually gets rid of his king 10 at this point now, so
surprising,
Jaden, Brian,
he was getting quite a good price, but
yeah. So we see the flop comes down. Nothing for Brian, not much for Jaden, and action on Brian.
So Brian decides to donk this flop for 40, so it could have been 1/3 pot at this stage, 1/3 pot, 1/4 pot.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Jaden with the king 10 decides to obviously call with a gut shot and backdoor flush draw.
Yep, so at this point now, things get a little bit more interesting on the turn.
Yeah, so Brian, who originally donked the flop, decides to leave the turn for 100.
And of course, Jaden already hit his straight.
Yeah, so Jaden's obviously hit his gin card. King 10. And it's 100 to him to call. He's got 900 in his stack. And at this point here, I guess he decides he wants to play for stacks and raises it up after a bit of a think.
Of course, Brian having the gut shot and the king high flush draw. He's left with 8 outs after we know we've lost a couple of outs to a couple of other players' folds.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting spot that Brian decides to leave here on the turn. I think that Jaden, when Jaden flats the flop here, I think he has a flush draw, obviously a gut shot like he has, and then a lot of 2-pair hands. Queen Jack are all hands that he would have raised with pre and then connected with that board pretty hard, so I think Brian would have been better off just to check and then try and see a cheap river card.
Yeah.
Brian bricks the river and then decides to barrel again for 350. It's an interesting bet. He bets 350 into a pot that's over $1,000 at this stage.
Maybe he's thinking Jaden hit a jack or a 9 and he's hoping to bet him off it at the end there.
Yeah, possibly, but I think when I don't think Jaden ever raises the turn with a jack or a 9. So I think when Jaden raises, he's kind of always got a straight flush, 2-pair.
He hasn't made much of a move all night, so
yeah,
you've got to put him on a pretty big
Yeah,
one.
for sure. He hasn't really been getting too out of line, so it's kind of interesting that Brian decided to take a stand here. I guess he realised he missed his flush draw and just decided to go for it.
Yep.
You can admire the heart for sure. But yeah, Jaden a little uncomfortable about calling, but ends up calling it off with a straight because he's getting a pretty good price here.
Yeah. Ended up being a fairly interesting hand. At the end of the day, it was quite a big pot, and yeah, Brian having a bit of a chuckle there.
Yeah, he has a bit of a
Couldn't
laugh.
quite pull it off,
yeah,
but
got to admire the effort for sure.
it hasn't crippled him by any means. He's still
He's still selling it on like 1.6k, but
Jaden getting a much needed little bit of a chip up there as well.
yeah, I think it was probably the best hand he won on this table, so gave him a little bit of momentum.
So moving on to our next hand, this one featuring Tanya.
Oh no, now everyone in YouTube land gets to watch me butcher a hand, so.
and Eric, who is a newcomer to the table. He hasn't been, or this is actually his first time on the table, same with yours.
I've actually never played with Eric before, but from what I hear, he's a pretty good regular now, and I'm playing some of the games around her.
So also worthy to note is that Eric hasn't played many hands so far.
Yeah, and I've been playing a lot of hands, as I tend to do. Let me see, I've picked up a Queen 10 suited when the graphics catch up.
That's down the bottom right,
Yeah, there we go. So we see Brian limp with 10-8 off. Obviously just wanting to see a cheap flop. I will not let that happen. So I make it 40 on the button, trying to ISO Brian and build up a nice little pot for myself in position.
Because then we see Eric is working up the
Yeah,
pocket
Eric.
twos.
Eric has a think in 3 bets here to 120. Brian gets out of the way pretty quickly. And I'm having a think because obviously I know that Eric realises that I've been opening a lot and I will be opening a lot more because I'm on the button and there's a limper. We did consider 4-betting, but our hand is really pretty and we're really deep because we're both 1.7k deep at this stage, and we decided to take a nice flop in position. And we do get a nice flop. It's a 2-4-5 2 spades flop.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Eric gets a good flop as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, he gets a slightly better flop. I'd much rather have his hand than mine in this spot.
Hindsight is a wonderful thing.
It is. It really is. It's really good. It's really good that you get to play this format and get to see his hands later on.
So Eric, first to act.
Yeah, he's a C-bet's 170, and we're thinking about raising. Obviously, we've got a couple of cards and a flush draw, but we want to keep our range pretty wide here. We want to do the same thing with our flush draws as we would do with our sets and our overpairs. So we decide just to flat call here.
Yep, make the call for 170.
We go to the turn, hoping a nice spade peels off.
A little bit of excitement.
Yeah, you
on the
see,
turn.
you see the excitement on my face. Oh, and it is a black card, but sadly not a spade. I'm crushed. Look how sad I look.
So Eric, in a pretty commanding lead at this stage.
Yeah, so at the moment he's just deciding how much he can bet because he wants to play for stacks. Deciding on sizing. It takes a little bit of time to make his bet. You see me look over at him and you see what he's up to. He bets 400 into 600 at this stage, and now I really have a decision to make. The thing is, what's going through my head at this point is if I flat, I feel like my hand really looks like a flush draw, or possibly a hand like jacks or tens, but I've gotten stubborn, but a lot of his hands are going to be folding on the river anyway, so it makes it pretty easy for Eric to play pretty perfectly against me. He's a pretty solid player, so I don't really feel like if a spade comes off, I'm going to be getting that much more money. So what I'm considering here is I'm thinking about just shoving on him. You see me look over at his stack and realise it's 900 more.
Yeah.
So I think just trying to decide. I didn't really know him that much as a player, but if he's got a hand like aces or kings, it puts him in a pretty tough spot when I jam. Yeah, because I can obviously have a ton of sets in my range. And sometimes I can even have something like ace 3. I've decided to peel pre and but I take a little bit too much time in this hand. That's one of the things about live poker where I've realised I've taken a bit too much time to make a decision. Jamming now doesn't look that credible, so I elect to fold.
Yeah, let it go.
Yeah, in hindsight, it turns out to be a great decision. And I remember turning to Eric, and there was a bit of discussion after this hand about what I had and what he had, and he turned to me and said, "Oh, like you'll see it on TV." So it's
and here it is.
And here it is. So
yeah, a pretty big hand though, nonetheless, and an interesting one at that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so in this next hand, we have featuring Tanya yet again.
Surprise, surprise! I'm playing another hand. Shocker.
This one this time is against Nick. Pretty interesting hand, this one. Interesting to see your take on how everything went in this hand.
I remember the hand played out pretty quickly, but there's a couple of interesting things to discuss. So we are
under the gun.
We're under the gun, and we creatively decided to raise to 40, which
raise to 30. Yeah,
raise to
with Queen
30,
Jack.
Yeah, with Queen Jack. A little ambitious, to be honest, but I hadn't really been getting 3-bet too much, and I guess that's really one of the reasons why Eric decides to start 3-betting me a lot. I think Queen Jack under the gun.
So we see Nick make the call, and Peter makes the call with Queen 10 as well.
Yeah, it's a Jack 4 flop, pretty dry. There's 105 in the pot, and I decided to just bet 40. It's a spot where we don't really want to bet full pot because we want hands like Nick does with ace high to float us in this spot. So we want to do that, and then we turn a book, so it's another 4, which is very nice.
It's semi-typical me dealing.
Yeah,
I've managed to put trip 4s on the board.
Yeah, and I run really good, so I have a full house here. And so I decided to check in this spot because I'm pretty sure that Nick has either a jack or obviously a hand like he does, like ace high. So if we bet and he has ace high, he's probably just going to fold the turn. So we decided just to check call and try and make our hand look a bit like ace high.
So Nick does make the bet, 75 with your call.
Yes.
And I don't let anyone down with my great dealing there?
Yeah. Decided to run even better, and I've got the best book possible.
Book on the table with a higher book than Nick's board.
Yeah, so it's kind of where it gets interesting. We decided to check again. Nick bets 230, I think, from memory. And it's kind of interesting that I decided just to snap call here. I think obviously Nick's a pretty good player, so it kind of factored into my decision. I think that when I jam, I don't really get called by... He doesn't really call unless he's got a forward. I don't think he ever calls a jam or a raise for a chop.
It was a pretty instant call.
I just checked snap call. I think against some other players that probably weren't... didn't think on as high a level as Nick. I might have just decided to jam and trying to extract a bit of value by someone who was looking to play sheriff and call me down with a chop. I didn't really feel like Nick was going to do that, so I decided to call quickly and just move on to the next hand.
Yeah. Nick looking a little bit perplexed there.
Yeah, he looks a little bit surprised. I think he was expecting me just to roll a chop.
And moving on to our next hand, we're looking at a hand between Brian and Tom. This was a pretty interesting hand.
It's interesting. A few things to note is that Tom really hadn't played that many hands during the course of the night, I guess, just because of being a little bit card dead. And Brian also had played a lot of hands and been messing around a lot of pots.
So we've got under the gun here. Jaden folds pocket sixes.
A little bit interesting to sort of see this on the live stream. I guess it's towards the end of the night. Maybe he wanted to.
Did you notice what I noticed?
No.
Jaden wasn't even in his seat.
Oh,
so he
okay.
gave up pocket sixes.
Interesting to know. I guess that makes a lot more sense now that he folded.
Yes.
Oh, he went
and
pocket six as well.
Oh, he's gonna love seeing that, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So anyway, back to the actual action.
So Tom opens 30 pre and he c-bets when he flops top pair for 60 into 115.
Something really funny is that on this turn,
we
see Brian hit his set, and that would have been set over set.
That would have been set over set.
And a big hand because Jaden
would have folded his
had
sixes. So on this turn we see Tom just sort of check, obviously for pot control a little bit. He's picked up a gut shot as well with his top pair, and Brian wasn't the tightest player at the table, so I think Tom just decides to call and try and get to showdown without letting the pot inflate too much. Tom checks again. Brian bets out 200 here. I think it's kind of interesting to note that Brian previously, in a few hands that he'd played, he'd gone really big with his sizing when he made a big hand, so I guess Tom was probably watching all those hands and pretty aware of that, so I think that might have been something that factored into his call.
200 was, half of the pot at that point?
So 200.
Shows a set of 10.
Ended up getting
he calls and he gets the bad news, and Tom looks a little disgusted. He hates his life a little bit, but it's okay. I'm sure he's still up lifetime.
Would have been very interesting had Jaden been in that.
Had Jaden got back from the bathroom in time, that pocket sixes over tens would have been quite interesting. It would be interesting to see how big the pot got, but luckily Tom was the only victim in his hand, and
lucky for Jaden.
Luckily.
And he got back in time, halfway through the hand.
He did.
So in this, the last hand of the night, we're going to see a very big hand, actually. This one was between Brian and Jay.
I think this was the biggest hand of the night.
It was the biggest hand of the night. We do lose a player in this hand as well, but it was a fitting end to a pretty fun night, I think.
Definitely.
All right, so this one is Brian versus Jay.
Waiting for the graphics to come up, but Brian has the king queen
and Jay woken up with pocket aces.
So Brian just limps with the king queen under the gun, first to act. Peter also decides to call, and Jay what's his sizing? No,
he raises.
He makes it 30, which is really, really, really very small. I guess he wouldn't want to scare anyone off. And you can see Nick call here for 20 more with 9-5. King Queen also calls, and Peter gets priced in with the Jack 5 suited. We
see a terrible
yeah,
flop
yeah.
for
Well,
Jay.
it's a terrible flop for aces. King Queen 10. When you call and it goes four-handed to the flop, and you see a flop like that, it's probably you're pretty in trouble with aces a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So it checks to Jay, and instead of just checking behind and trying to pot control, he decides to bet 70. Comes up to Brian, who's flopped top 2, and puts a nice little raise for
That's an
200
additional
more.
200.
Yeah, so it's 270 total. Peter gets out of the way with his up and down.
See the look on Jay's face there. He's already shaking his head. He knows that the likelihood is that he's run into 2 pair.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
a
He's
flop
not
straight.
happy. He's not happy. He's thinking like, why didn't I just check? So it's 200 more for him to call, and he has 1.1k in his stack at this stage.
Yep, and 465 in the pot.
Yeah, 465 in the pot. Tanya comes back to the table. Hello, Tanya. Yeah.
So at this stage, you've got to be thinking that you're behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when you get raised on a board like this, you think like, is Brian really raising with King Jack, Queen Jack? Probably not. He's probably just calling and
hoping.
calling and like with a top pair, up and down sort of hand.
So really, with aces here, we're looking at hoping to hit my gut shot with a jack here.
Yeah, pretty much. And instead of just calling or folding, which I think were both okay options, he decides to shove, which is going to end up pretty disastrous for him because Brian had to fall behind and just decides to call it off. And
it is one of those hands, just like Jay said. He's like, you get the aces, you hit one of those hands.
I think he fell in love with his hand a little bit too much. Possibly should have just let it go, but you don't get aces that often. Sometimes it's
even
hard.
worse, the book comes on the turn
Yeah,
and he makes his straight on the river.
He does.
Just to rub it in.
Yeah. Yeah, so Brian picks up a very nice pot there.
Yeah, 2.4k that pot. That was a
2.4K,
big one. And
well,
Jay leaves him hanging for a little while, but yeah, it was a tough hand. Unlucky on the aces, unfortunately.
Jay shakes his head. I think he knows he might have made a little misstep there, and probably should have got rid of the aces, even though it can be really hard sometimes.
Very difficult hand to fold, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed our commentary from some of the big hands that we had last Tuesday night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Tanya, for joining me.
No worries. Thank you so much for
this.
having me. And hopefully we'll be live streaming in a couple of weeks on Twitch.
Shouldn't take too long. We've got a lot of avenues for you to keep an eye on what's going on. You can join us at our website, on Facebook, on YouTube, at twitch.tv/WA Poker League once we start streaming, which shouldn't be too far away. And of course, send us any messages through any of those mediums and we will get back to you. Thanks a lot for watching.
Thanks, guys.